Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, to the Lock On Podcast, MP1st's gaming podcast, where we talk about pretty much everything that's going on in the news. Got a few familiar faces on the panel today. Figure we'll go around and see how everybody's doing, what you're playing. Start with Avery. How you doing?
Kyle, how's it going? I'm doing all right. Yesterday I thought it was Friday, so obviously it's been a long week so far.
I think we can all, it's weird. I feel like October, it's an empty October. It feels like a little bit compared to what I'm used to, especially when it comes to game releases right now.
That's because of next month.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there slowly but surely.
And Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, doing good. We had our first snow of the season yesterday.
Oh, good old Colorado.
Or I guess 2 days ago, Monday. So, Colorado is known to be erratic weather-wise, so it's already starting to warm back up, which is nice, but a sign of things to come, I'm afraid.
Yes, that's how it.
At least it helped the firefighters. We've been having some pretty nasty fires.
The fires out there. Yeah. I've been reading about them. That it's pretty terrible.
Two worst fires in the state's history are both burning right now.
Well, we're happy you're here with us and staying safe. And Sean, how you doing?
I'm good. I had to take a break from my rewatch of The Meg.
Oh, great movie. It's one of those. I feel like it's going to instantly become one of those cult classics. You give it a couple years. It's a great monster movie, and I can't remember anything. Obviously Jaws, but a lot of inspiration from Jaws there. But just the size of it, seeing the first time, it's a fun popcorn movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's based on a book that I read, so it's nothing like the book except that it's a big shark and there's a character named Jonas. But it's once I accepted that it's not going to be like the book, I just have fun with it. I like shark movies. That's my my catnip.
Well, we have a pretty packed show today. There's been lots going on in the world of video games, and I think we're going to jump in with our number one topic, which I believe everyone at this point has heard about, the Cyberpunk delayed. So, if you've been living under a rock right now, Cyberpunk, the highly anticipated game, has been delayed. It was slated to come out November 19th. It's been delayed. CD Projekt Red put out a statement today, and it said, today we've decided to move the release date of Cyberpunk 2077 by 21 days. The new release date is December 10th. Most likely, there will be many emotions and questions in your heads. So first and foremost, please accept our humble apologies. They go on to say there's essentially a lot of consoles that this thing's coming out on, obviously between the original Xbox One, original PS4, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series X, PS5, PC, PS4 Pro, Xbox, One X. So there's a lot, and I get credit for that, and it definitely can be tough. But yeah, a lot of mixed feelings and emotions today on the internet. I think I'll go to you first, Sean. What was kind of your initial reaction to this, and do you think a lot of the reaction that you're seeing online is justified?
My first reaction was LOL. I think I've mentioned how I'm not that excited for the game because I think Witcher's a bad video game, but just the fact, there's so much funny shit with this. Like, first of all, lots of people are looking forward to this game. And there's a little part of me that's like a little trollish and like, aha, you have to wait even longer for this game that you're anticipating. And then there's a part of me that's like, Jesus Christ, stop giving a fucking release date. Stop doing it. You clearly cannot hit a target. And then the other part of me is like, I don't believe that it's coming out in December.
Yeah, me neither.
And the last part is that this, like it says in the post, this turned into a next-gen game. Last generation, this generation is literally holding that game back from being released.
Yeah, and I think the main thing is there's been rumors, and I'm not sure if they cited it or if someone got a quote. I remember reading about it earlier today that the base PS4 and the base Xbox One are giving them hardest problems. And the way I think of it is this is the team that managed to put Witcher 3 on the Switch. And say what you want about The Witcher, it's a great looking game, and they managed to make it work. So I'm assuming that they'll be able to get this to work as well. But man, I don't want to even know the load times that you're going to have on the original PS4 and Xbox One. Tim, what kind of, you've seen the reaction online. Do you think it's pretty justified with the amount of delays and new release dates that they keep putting out there?
Yeah, look, this game wasn't originally supposed to come out like last November or something crazy?
I believe it was originally.
Yes.
I think it was originally November. Then I got moved to the spring. Then I got moved to September. Then November, and now December.
I think just to cut in, I think it was originally just 2019.
Okay.
Holiday 2019 with no date. Then the first delay happened where it pushed it into like April or something.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, I get modern game development is hard. And at some point, this game's been in production for at least 7 years. They announced it in 2013. So at some point, it clearly had like their vision grew to the point where it as they said, it kind of became a next gen game. So I imagine, I feel bad for the team that like the grunts working on it, because the visionaries leading the project probably should have made some decisions a couple years ago on the scale of the game that they didn't, or that they made the wrong choice about. And so now it's just killing the excitement. I mean, like, there's still people that are excited for the game, but it's not going to be this rejoicing, happy thing when it's going to be finally, thanks, like they're killing their own hype in a lot of ways. I would pay a lot of money to see what's actually on that disc.
Yeah.
Like how janky it must be if they're willing to delay it now.
And I guess my question is, let's say, I'd be really interested to kind of figure this out. If someone can get their hands on a Cyberpunk disc, and before you go online, don't update, like go offline. What happens if you play the game offline? Essentially, you'd be playing a game that, if they said it's gone gold, well, now that gone gold is now moved, another month essentially. So that's a month-old build on that disc. And I'm kind of wondering, like, what, if I don't plug my Xbox into the internet, what kind of game, what's the difference is going to be on that disc? So, I'm very, very curious, and I do like your point there. Now, Avery, I guess my question is for you. Do you think people are going to care about this when the game comes out? Do you think this is going to be remembered as, oh man, was that game delayed? Remember that delay for Cyberpunk?
I mean, I kind of had the same, wondering about if people's expectations are going to go higher or lower, or like what Tim was saying, oh, they're going to be like, finally, they finally released it, more of a sense of it's about time versus a wondrous occasion. And so I think I'm going to lean more towards, like, if I finally get it, I'm going to be in the boat like, okay, like I finally have it, hopefully it's worth it, because you've been waiting, however many times it's been delayed, this fourth time now. And like Sean was saying, what's the point of doing these release dates when you keep on missing them? And so that's what I think. I think people may start thinking, okay, this should better be worth it, because you keep on delaying it just for these little things.
Now, with that attitude, do you think that reviews are going to be harsher because of that attitude of, oh, okay, like they delayed it so many times. What have they done to the game to make it better? If there's a bug, if there's a game-breaking bug or something, it's like, are people going to react with, well, why did you delay the game if you couldn't even get this right?
Absolutely. And they 100% deserve,
it'll flavor it,
any extra sort of criticism, because if you're going to keep on delaying it, especially when it's only 3 weeks out, and people are anticipating this as coming to be one of their first next gen titles, possibly, 100% they're opening the door for more types of that criticism, because you have all this extra time, so it needs to be perfect, basically.
Yeah, that's a perfect kind of analogy. Is people are expecting the best out of this game. Like, the hype is around it. I think people are starting to the hype is starting to wane, and it's been weighing on people for the last month. Sean, I just don't really understand, why delay it to December 10th? Why not, if you say it's a next-gen game, why not have the next-gen release with the game? Because in my opinion, now you start to get into the territory of you're going to release this in December, and in my opinion, awards, regardless of where they're from, they're all going to probably bump this game into 2021 now. And now you've got an entire 12 months of this is a game on the back burner, and all those games that were delayed are going to be coming out this year.
So I personally, I don't think a reviewer should be so cynical to be like, oh, well, this game was delayed, so it should, and like have that weigh on the score. I think they should just accept the delays and then just review the final product. I'm sure somebody's gonna hold it against it, or weigh it differently based on that. But regarding the delay, I don't know why I get it from a business standpoint. You don't want to sit there and have this game released almost literally 3 weeks on PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC, okay, 3 weeks ahead of the last gen consoles, because that kind of sucks. Like, I get they want to make sure, because by all reports, like you said, it's running good on everything except last gen consoles or the current gen consoles. And so I don't know, man. The whole game of the year thing is weird, because most outlets are going to, they usually wait till the end of the year. There's a couple that don't, like Giant Bomb doesn't. And I know the Game Awards don't. The Game Awards have their cutoff is like the middle of November, which is absurd. But you know what? So what? So be it. I don't think they need that, or they don't care about that. You know what I mean? They've gotten enough accolades just from being Game of the Show E3 for like 3 years in a row, and all this other stuff. So I just think they just want to make sure that the game comes out for everybody, and that the people who aren't upgrading, who are really looking forward to this game, who are going to play it when it comes out for PS4 and Xbox One, suffer as little as possible. I don't think they're going to perfect it. I think that game's going to be buggy as hell on PS4 and Xbox One.
Do you here's a question, I guess. Do you think that if the game comes out and it is that perfect 9 and perfect 10s across the board, that everyone's going to forget about this?
It depends on how many great games come out next year.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that Red Dead Redemption was a shoo-in for 2018, but then God of War came out. But even before Red Dead came out, people were like, oh, Red Dead's the game. Then God of War came out, and everybody loved God of War, and that wound up winning in terms of the Game Awards. It won Game of the Year. So you never really know. It could be that good that people hold on to that for the entire year. I know sometimes I pick my Game of the Year in March. Resident Evil 2 was my Game of the Year last year until in March. You know what I mean? Like until Death Stranding came out. But it just, yeah. I don't know. To me, that's just irrelevant. I just want the game to fucking come out, because I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people are. And I guess now, kind of to pivot about your Game of the Year, I guess I just have a question for each one of you. I'll kind of start with myself as well. What's your Game of the Year now? Everyone was sitting here expecting Cyberpunk to just, like you said, shoo in for Game of the Year. Well, now let's push that out and pretend we're going to push it out to 2021, like most other outlets will do. And we're going to talk about what do you think could possibly even become Game of the Year, or what is now Game of the Year. Now, Tim, I'm going to start with you. Is there a game that you think can take that Game of the Year nomination, at least a nomination, that's coming out still? Or do you kind of have one in your head that's like, no, I think that's a guarantee now?
I don't know if it'll be my Game of the Year, but I certainly think that Watch Dogs Legions that's coming out pretty soon here. But I certainly think that could take a lot of people's lists. The thing is, I actually kind of am glad it's coming out that late. And that is, there's one thing about Cyberpunk being delayed that I like, since it's coming out that late, and a lot of people are not going to get to include it in Game of the Year. It's not going to get caught up in recency bias.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have a whole bunch of people 2 years from now going, I don't think Cyberpunk should have won all those Game of the Year awards, but everyone just liked it because it had just come out and they were still excited about it, which has happened to other games in the past. So I think that's probably good for the game's thoughts about the game going forward, like long term. But yeah, I definitely could see people taking to Watch Dogs. I could see people taking to Call of Duty. Last year's Call of Duty was really good. I don't think this year's is going to be as good. I think the beta show that their level design is lacking in ways, but that might just be personal opinion, and that might blow the doors off.
I agree with you in terms of the Ubisoft games. Like, I genuinely think, and I'm going to move on to Avery here in a second. I genuinely think that Assassin's Creed is the biggest benefactor from this entire thing.
Oh, I totally forgot about Valhalla.
Yeah. So, and I do genuinely think if they do a good job and they improve on, they kind of go back to the more Origins style, because I feel like a lot of people like that a little bit more. I genuinely think it's definitely a Game of the Year contender. Avery, do you kind of have a game in mind?
Yeah, I think right now, my heart is with Final Fantasy VII Remake. The original is my all-time favorite, so playing through that was pretty magical and special. But my head right now is with Ghost of Tsushima. That was a phenomenal game. I loved it. It was one where I kind of wanted to try and go back and even platinum, and I've only have one platinum, and it was with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot earlier this year, which is also probably going to be my top 5 because my first platinum. But regardless, those two are probably going to be up there with me. I was also thinking about who may benefit the most from Cyberpunk, and I was kind of thinking that Watch Dogs might. I know the reviews were coming out today, and we were mentioning earlier that it was kind of 8s all across the board for the most part. And so I think people may spend a little bit more time now with Watch Dogs, just because I think with Assassin's Creed, there's already that built-in fan base with Assassin's Creed that people are, it's almost like with Call of Duty, it's an annual or, biannual game that people are always going to go and check out. Whereas with Watch Dogs, it might be still a bit more newer franchise that is still kind of finding its footing. And so with this longer gap until Cyberpunk, I think more people may spend a bit more time with it and not feel pressure to get through it.
Yeah, I agree. I genuinely think, those 8s that we've seen across the board, if we see some next-gen improvements on the Series X and PS5, I think that can even go up even higher. Just in terms, if we, cut down the load times, are there any new features that are specific to the next-gen consoles? Now, I know, Sean, I already know, you are the Last of Us 2 guy.
I think The Last of Us 2 is going to cinch it across the board. Maybe not in this. I just think it's going to be the one. That was the one game. The one game that game had to worry about was Cyberpunk, and Cyberpunk's gonna, unless every outlet waits until December, which they usually don't. They usually want to have that Game of the Year discussion content going up the last week of December. I think it's The Last of Us is a cinch. I don't think Assassin's Creed has a prayer of beating it.
Oh, I think we lost him.
Oh, no.
All right. Either way, we just lost him. Then we'll get him back on the mic.
Sean, I do agree. I do agree that Last of Us is most likely going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last of Us again was, and you know what? I'm genuinely curious, just because it's the internet. Are we going to have this entire up in arms thing about Last of Us 2 winning, and we're going to see it all? We all know if it wins, it's all we're going to see on the internet again. Is people calling the story it is what it is, and people can have their own different opinions, but people are very pushy about this game.
I'm just gonna smile because it is the best game that came out this year so far. It has the best story, it has the best writing, and the gameplay is a marked improvement over the first game. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to Assassin's Creed. I love Assassin's Creed, and I'm looking. Watch Dogs is my favorite. I would be shocked if I like anything as much as The Last of Us, and it's not just my opinion. It's just looking. It's like looking at the room, just being like, yeah, that's the game that now has the best chance of winning without Cyberpunk on the map.
No, I agree. I think we're definitely going to be seeing Cyberpunk for next year's game of the year. I think it's going to be different because, like I said, we're going to have that 12-month gap of there's going to be so many different games coming out. Now we don't see it as that, guaranteed shoe-in for game of the year. So it'll definitely be interesting to see kind of where we go. And, you're going to see the multiplayer get introduced next year, and you're going to see DLC. So I think Cyberpunk's going to stay in the conversation fairly well. I think by this time next year, we're not going to be hearing too much. Oh, you remember Cyberpunk? I think it's still going to be fairly relevant for sure.
I think something's going to come out next year that's going to blow us all away. Something new.
I hope so. I want to see something really take advantage of this new hardware. So while we get Tim back on the line, we're going to move over to our next topic, which is we finally have the PS5 and the Xbox Series X out in the wild. Out in the wild being, outlets that can cover it and, review it and preview it. So lots of pictures out there, lots of demos have been shown, lots of early thoughts. We saw the unboxing videos, obviously were very popular. I'm going to go to Sean first here. We saw the PlayStation 5, and, let's kind of start from the outside in here. So we're going to start with, obviously, what we see first, which is the box. And I know a lot of people might not think this is a big deal, but, I do like when I open something up, I want to feel like it's a Christmas. Like, oh, my God, it's a brand new console. These things don't come out every day. So, Sean, what did you kind of think about the two different packaging that both consoles have?
Well, I mean, I'm personally, just want to preface this, that I usually don't give a shit about the box. I usually I keep the box for traveling purposes or storage purposes, but I don't usually care how the box is. However, PlayStation did exactly what they've done this last gen and every gen before that. They have the console stuck between two styrofoam things that you pull out of a box, and the controllers and everything sitting on top of the box. The Xbox, the Series X packaging, and you know what, Microsoft has really good packaging every time. Like they put a little bit of extra care into their boxes, and I think it's neat because for the people like you who do appreciate that kind of stuff, and I'm objective enough that I can look at it and go, that's a really nice box. I said it today twice. I was like, I watched 2 unboxing videos. I'm like, this is really nice packaging. It's just really nice packaging. So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and so I like that they take that extra step. Like, even though Sony kind of caters to people like me who don't care about the box, but I like that. But I like that Microsoft caters to the people who do care about the box.
Yeah, the feeling I got, just to kind of reiterate what I had said, is just, I love that the seals on it are just like simple cut. Like, you don't even, like, most people just rip these off the boxes and they just came off. And it opens just like a really nice premium product. It says, power your dreams on the inside. It just seems really nice. And someone who worked in retail for a long time with video game systems, nothing pissed me off more than the stupid, and they did it again, and I really hate it, just, for all the retail people to have to put the PlayStation 5, back in the boxes after, is they have that stupid thing where it's like the really, really thin cardboard, and you pull it out, and then there's the actual box with the handle on it. And half the time, if you try to put it back in, like you got to return it, you end up ripping the cardboard because it's like this thin. And I know it's a completely minor gripe. But yeah, I hated that packaging, and I just kind of don't like the plasticky, you open up, it's like just pure white. It's like, okay, it's like whatever, comes from. I'm just being picky here just because I did work with retail. Avery, did you have any kind of thoughts on the packaging on the outside? And did you, we can even talk specifically about, what do you get inside the box? Obviously with Xbox, you get some game, you get a month of Game Pass. With PlayStation, you're getting, a game right away in Astro's Playroom.
Yeah, taking a look at the packaging videos first, like some of them are kind of like awkward because trying to get me excited to look at some, a power cord. They're like, oh man, this Xbox cord's real nice. There's no brick, and that is true. I mean, that is pretty nice, but I don't really care. But when about like Astro's Playroom though, I was watching a video about that. It was the link that Sean sent, And that actually looks really fun. And I may actually check that out when I do get my PS5, because, you know, everything they were going on, they were making it sound like, you know, yeah, it's a tutorial for the new controller, but it is, you know, a game in and of itself. And so I love free shit, so I'll definitely check it out. And, you know, and the controller sounds pretty cool too, all the new features with it, and the haptic trigger technology and everything. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so am I. I kind of like I've always liked, you know, Wii Sports, you know, even Connect Adventures back when Connect. I always like a game that kind of, you know, a demo essentially of the hardware and what it can do. I've always liked that. So we finally got Tim back. Tim, just really quick, we'll get you caught up. We're just talking about starting with, you know, the boxes and the unboxing videos we saw. What kind of packaging, and, you know, how do you feel about the packaging, and, you know, what comes with each system? You know, what are your thoughts?
Clearly the Xbox One has the Xbox Series X, sorry, what a crappy naming convention, but clearly that has the superior boxing design. That is so cool. You just open it like a shoebox, and there's the system with the welcome to, what is the welcome to Earth or something. That is clearly the best box design. I think that is so slick. It has a lot of confidence. Now, once they're out and you see them actually next to each other, I think they actually both look pretty impressive. I obviously prefer that monolithic slab look of the Xbox.
Yeah,
but
no,
as far as the unboxing, come again?
No, I just said I agree with you. And, you know, moving to the actual systems itself, Sean, what do you know, obviously, I think the first thing that, you know, we see the side-by-side pictures, and the first thing we see is, oh my God, this PlayStation is huge. And there are a lot of people who, you know, are rightly concerned, like, who, you know, if they have a media center or whatever, they're not really preparing for this, you know, 2-foot tall freaking box. You know, they don't really expect that. And yes, you can lean it over, which is good. But you know, on the other side, you know, play devil's advocate. You know, I don't think we're ever going to see the thing overheat. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm one of those people that I don't care what a console looks like. It goes in my entertainment center, and I just put games in it and play it, as long as it does what it's supposed to do. But my thing with the PlayStation, it's really not that much bigger. It's maybe like a couple of inches bigger than the Xbox One original on its side, you know, in terms of length. And that's where it's going in my console, in my entertainment center horizontal. I'm not, but if I have to be objective, I'm not a big fan of either design this gen. Like, if I had to just be like looking at a pure, like, if I'm really forced to judge the aesthetics, they were definitely designed with function in mind, and then tried to put a form around it. Whereas I feel like in other generations, you know, even Xbox One, it kind of had that, but it's still, everyone makes fun of the big VCR look. I like the original Xbox One look. Simple, square, a button with a disc. Like, that's all I want. That's all I need. I just need, you know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that the One X that I have is a much better design, but I didn't have a problem with design. And I didn't have a problem with the PS4 design. I didn't really like the PS3, the original PS3 design with the George Foreman grill looking thing. But yeah, like, I don't know. I think people make a bigger deal out of the consoles than there is. I will tell you though, the moment I can change the white plates, I'm going to.
Yeah.
I saw somebody do like red plates, or like they were like maroon red plates on the PlayStation, and I thought I was all about black, and then I saw those plates, and I was like, I want my maroon red PlayStation, because I'm not a fan of white consoles.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, I think that honestly, and I feel like not a lot of people have thought of this idea. But what are we going to see? Let's say, you know, you keep the same console for 3 or 4 years. That white. What is that white going to look like if it's sitting somewhere? You know, you ever get the white that if it sits somewhere long enough, it kind of turns like a yellowish.
Yeah,
you know,
everything. My Xbox One.
Yeah.
My 360, I mean.
Yes, the 360 did that. I really hope this doesn't happen.
It's going to happen.
And this is why I hate white. I'm the same with you. I'm right there. I hate white console designs because it shows everything. One mark on that thing, you're going to notice it. And it's going to show. Especially if you're all about aesthetic.
There's the other thing. Oh, sorry. There's
Go
the
ahead.
other thing with the PlayStation 5 is that it doesn't sit still without the stand either way. So, like, what happens in 5 years when people are selling used PS5s? Well, but we're missing the stand, so you just take home this thing that wobbles next to your
Now,
TV.
I'm sure third parties are going to sell
Yeah.
stands and
I think we're
PlayStation.
going to see third-party
I don't
stands, and I think we're going to see a lot of third-party accessories.
I don't see it a situation where somebody would. Why would you sell the console without the stand?
Or you lost the stand. You moved a bunch of times. You're, some kid in college.
If you move that many times, I think whoever's going to buy it from, like, there's a lot of. I mean, that's a hedge case, Tim. That's a
fair.
real.
Yeah, because that person obviously in the ad would have to probably put that they don't have the stand. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. Avery, I want to go to you to kind of finish up this subject. Do you care about what the PS5 or the Xbox One looks, or Xbox Series X? God, same thing as Tim. It's a freaking name, man. Change your damn name, Xbox. Anyway, do you have an opinion on the Xbox or PS5 designs, or do you just like, I don't care, I'm putting it as long as it plays games?
Most of the time I don't really care, but just for the, sake of the topic, I did actually, watch and analyze what each console is actually looking at. And the thing with the PlayStation, that I did like was how clean it does look, both vertical and horizontal with the stand. And I watched Destin on IGN do it, and he hit it and it didn't wobble that much, so it looked like if something were to jump on it, like a cat or something, it won't mess it up too much. The one thing about the Xbox was kind of weird was that its stand it can't remove, and so if you do have it on its side, it just has this weird circle on the bottom. And so, but that's if you are really picky about that stuff. Other than that, I mean, that's fine. I kind of do I like the Xbox looking like it's just the box, but then the PlayStation 5 does look kind of cool if, it's kind of just unique plate thing. But I'll be interested to see what kind of interchangeable plates that they have most likely selling pretty soon here.
I guess my whole thing about the interchangeable plates is it just feels like Sony's, such this company where they're like, we want to make easy money when it comes to selling accessories, because PlayStation has always had a lot of accessories. Same with Xbox. Xbox has a lot too. But it just feels like it's such a time waste of, hey guys, we can print these pieces of plastic that people can take on and off, but we can sell it to them for $20 or $30, and they'll buy a bunch of different ones. And we can brand them. We can, sell licenses to them. I just feel like that was a really missed opportunity. And I think, like Sean said, we're definitely going to see third parties do that.
Sony is weird that in they're a business and like to make money. They're not like other businesses that don't.
They don't like money. All right. So moving on to our next topic, keeping with the next gen discussion, PlayStation recently, today came out and announced the PlayStation Plus collection, which had previously been announced, but they announced some new games going into it. So this month you're going to see Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombie Chronicles Edition and the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. So just to kind of remind people, some of the games that are in there, you've got most of your big first-party games, Bloodborne, Uncharted 4, Days Gone, Detroit, God of War, Infamous, Ratchet & Clank. And I will say this, I'm very shocked that Uncharted Collection isn't in there, because, why have 4 in there and not kind of have all of them? I didn't understand that. And then you've got a few third-party titles. They're a little bit older, but they're still really good. Got Battlefield 1, Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, like I said previously, the Zombie Chronicles Edition, which I will say that is if you're going to get any Call of Duty on, for current gen consoles, Black Ops 3, especially the Zombie Chronicles Edition, is amazing because it has all the OG zombie maps that they've remastered. So highly recommend checking that out. So yeah, like obviously this is going to be a big deal to those that are picking up a PS5 and maybe didn't have a PS4. I don't know how many of those people there actually are out there, but there are some of those people out there. You're going to get a ton of games, especially or people that didn't, that are buying the PS5 for your typical Madden or COD, sports games. This is going to be great for them because it might get them like Game Pass. It kind of gets you out of your comfort zone and says, hey, this is free. This is just sitting here. unlike Game Pass, it's free and just sitting there if you already have PlayStation Plus. Tim, what do you kind of think about, you're comparing this to Game Pass in some sense, but I think this is a great little lineup for people that maybe didn't get too much into the PS4 collection of games.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely piques my interest because I have not had a PlayStation 4, and so it definitely is something that if I was looking to be adventurous with my $500 this Christmas season, I definitely could see myself considering a PlayStation more because of that, because those are all games I've been interested in that I never got to play because they were mostly exclusive, right? So, no, I think it's a wise choice, especially considering that I'm sure we'll get to it, but the fact that Xbox is bringing everything with it compatibility-wise,
yeah.
I think it's wise for them to highlight these games that are coming with it,
Yeah, Sean, what, is this, as somebody who's had a PS4 and has all of these games, obviously we can kind of expect, this isn't Game Pass. This is not even close to Game Pass. It's a way for Sony to put in a few of their older games so people can enjoy it. There's going to be no day one, games going into this. Sean, as somebody who's played most of these, do you appreciate this at least in saying, hey, I can go back to these whenever I want? You might have already purchased them, but there might be a few in there that you're like, hey, I didn't have any interest in, but I'm going to check out now.
There's a couple of games in here, like Monster Hunter I barely played. Battlefield I didn't play. And then...
You should have.
What, Battlefield 1?
Yeah.
I hate Battlefield as a rule. I hate Battlefield. Yeah, I hate them. The maps are too big. But I mean, to me, the best news is that every game on here is going to benefit from that boost mode.
Yes.
So that to me was the news I was looking for. A game like Bloodborne, which is my favorite game of all time, Days Gone could definitely use boost mode, because one of my biggest problems with that game is that it felt disjointed because of the load times in between, in and out of like cutscenes. Like in and out of cutscenes, it was just like there would be this black bar, like this black screen for like, even if it was like 10 seconds, it's still too long. Like games like The Last of Us show you how quick you go in it. You hide the cutscene, you hide the loads in the cutscene so that you can go to the next thing.
And for people, and for people that don't know, these updates aren't, specifically for that game, correct? No. It's the consoles making it better, essentially.
If the thing with boost mode is if the game has an unlocked frame rate, you're going to get on the higher end of the frame rate. They're all going to benefit from faster load times, and then but ultimately they'll get more stable frame rate. So even if it's a locked 30, it'll be 30. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to have the frame. Hopefully, Bloodborne isn't going to have the frame pacing issues that it has and stuff like that. Even though it's my favorite game, it does tax. That was 2015, and it was already maxing out like the PlayStation 4 for the way they developed it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool thing. I don't think it should be. I mean, it's inevitably people are going to compare it, but I don't think it should be compared to Game Pass because it's got a completely different. Their approach is completely different. They're not saying like, here's a library that you subscribe to, you download these games, you have access to these games no matter what. It's not like, once you download these games, you have them. You don't have to like keep them on your hard drive. Like in Game Pass, if you delete a game
and it gets taken off,
the Game Pass, you don't have access to that game anymore. Yes. So in this, it's like if you download Bloodborne or Days Gone, if you just put it in your queue from the store as you purchase as a PlayStation Plus game, as long as you're active PlayStation Plus, you can always access those games.
So it is like Game Pass in the sense of you need to be subscribed to it in order to keep those games.
Yes, but like I said,
but they won't leave.
Yeah, well, even if it leaves PS Plus collection, even if Bloodborne, even if they cycle out every single one of these games and 20 new games replace it, because you downloaded Bloodborne when you had PS Plus, you will always have access to Bloodborne.
So as long as you have PlayStation Plus, you will have access to those games.
Yes, it's not a matter. You're not at the mercy of what is cycled in and out. Like we all know that the first party games at Xbox are going to stay in Game Pass in perpetuity. It's the third party games that are going to come and go. So, I mean, in that regard, it's a little better, but again, to me, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, I agree. Avery, what's your kind of, opinion on this? Is it something that you care about? Is it nice to have? Do you see, is it like, if I'm bored, I might check it out? I genuinely don't think that correct me if I'm wrong here. I genuinely don't think that most people who are going to be picking up PS5 are going to be like, oh, hey, I'm really excited to go home and play these games that are slightly better. I think people are going to buy the PS5 and pick up a Bloodborne, pick up a Spider-Man. Or do you see yourself playing some of these games day one?
So when it comes to the PS Plus collection, or just PS Plus in general, I never really looked into those type of things because it was always older PlayStation games. And if I hadn't played something like Sean mentioned, Monster Hunter, that was a game that I did want to play, but I never got around to it. And I tell myself, oh, I'll go back and play X game, because I missed out on it, but I never do. And with Game Pass, I have that mostly because I play most of my Xbox stuff on my PC. And so Game Pass is really nice because it is offering new releases. And so you are getting access to those games. Like I played, the Outer Worlds on Game Pass. And so instead of spending, the $60 on it, you get it for, free with your subscription. And that appeals to me more so than revisiting older games. Now, when I do get the PS5, I may see myself possibly downloading, let's say, a Bloodborne and trying to get through the first 20 minutes again. And this time with a better frame rate. And hopefully that makes my skills a bit better. But we'll see. Well, then at least I'll be dying in a faster frame rate then. But besides that, I mean, I don't see myself, replaying Spider-Man, for example, in preparation for Miles Morales. So these games are nice for someone maybe like Tim who didn't have a PS4 or didn't experience some of these exclusives. But for the majority of PlayStation users coming back, I don't see it as being a big splash for them.
Yeah, and you're right there with the fact that, this is perfect for people who didn't have the PS4, because there are a lot of great games on here. There's a ton of good first-party games from Sony. Like I said, the only one that I'm a little shocked on is Uncharted. Is there something on here that you guys are kind of shocked that isn't on here? Or I guess the other way around, excuse me. Are you guys shocked that there's not something on here that you would expect there to be?
I just want to say I have played and own 12 of these games already.
And I think that's a lot of people, like Avery mentioned, I think a lot of people, might already own most of these games. It might be a good reason for you to be like, hey, if they're going to be on there forever, I can, if I have physical copies of them, I can trade them in or, give them to a friend or whatever, which is a nice add-on.
Is there one of the Gran Turismos on there?
No, that's another one. Yeah. You know what? To be fair, I don't think Sony really wants to revisit Gran Turismo Sport. I think they want to move on to the next one because, a lot of fans had a lot of bad taste in their mouth from that game. But yeah, like we're excited for it and kind of moving on to, a little more PlayStation centric episode here. The demo for the Astros Playroom, which we kind of mentioned earlier, had come out, and the controller is obviously the big thing that a lot of people are talking about right now. And then you also have people talking and saying it's a gimmick. We've seen this before. And, Avery, I'll go back to you to start. Straight up easy question. Do you think this is a gimmick?
I don't think it is. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, first mentioning about the controller saying that it does feel, next gen. And I mean, hearing that, I mean, already kind of piques your interest and wants you to try it yourself versus, I mean, I don't really think the Xbox controller is, that great, but it does think it's one of the best controllers out there. And so it is nice to hear that PlayStation is doing something, out of the box or different with their, new controller. And then when it comes to just the Astro, Playroom game itself, again, it's always nice to get something free when you first get your console. I mean, there's going to be people out there who may not be able to afford, to get a game right away. So it's nice to have something pre-downloaded, ready to go right when you plug it in and power up, and you can get to playing and experiencing it.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before, I do like the fact of a game demo kind of showing off the aspects of the new console. Tim, someone who hasn't had a PlayStation 4, are you, if you do get a PS5, is this kind of the first thing that you'll pop into the box, out of the box and in to the console? Oh, yeah. Just, be like, hey, I'm definitely going to try this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anything free, I'm going to play, right? Anything that's packed in, I'm going to give a shot. I played Hexic 2 for hours. Yeah, I mean, the thing is just for me, when I hear all this stuff about the haptics and how it really feels like you're getting pelted by sand, it just seems like one more thing that can break. One more thing that can be defective. So I don't know. I imagine with the graphics upgrades that this console offers and the depth of field and all sorts of crazy stuff, I'm going to be surprised if it gets that much use outside of first party stuff. Yep. Thankfully, PlayStation, for PlayStation people, Sony does have a pretty good bench of first party developers. So it's not like there won't be any games that use it. But I would be very surprised if there's many third-party games that use haptics much at all. I mean, the Switch's HD Rumble came to nothing. So I'm not going to call it a gimmick because I think it will get used and in interesting ways. But I think it may just be too detailed to implement all the time. And I think that it's just another complicated piece of hardware that can go wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a lot of moving parts there. Obviously, when you get into a controller, if things do break, how much does that cost? And, obviously controller prices are going up, but I think that has more to do with just the cost of everything going up. Now, Sean, to Tim's point, do you think that outside of, the thing for me, in my personal opinion, the thing that will make or break this is if they can get enough third-party people, especially after the first year, because I think you're going to see your Call of Duties and you probably even see Cyberpunk use it at some point, just to kind of, hey, we've got this, we can use the new features. But Sean, do you think that outside that first year, do you think they can get enough third party, or do you see this being kind of going the way of the 6-axis on the PS3 or even the HD Rumble on the Switch?
The 6-axis was kind of a gimmick they tried to do to replace the fact that they didn't have Rumble because they couldn't get the patents for it when the original PlayStation the 6-axis came out when the PlayStation 3 first came out, but they still use 6-axis. 6-axis has been in every controller since, even if not every studio uses it. However, I do think the haptics, especially the haptics, are going to be something that's going to be carried over well into the generation. I actually think they're going to be so utilized that Microsoft is going to release an updated controller with haptics. They're going to bring back haptics, because the thing is, whenever something is the lead platform, that is what gets the attention, and those things stay. Now, the touchpad, no, the touchpad, I don't even know why they invented the touchpad to begin with, because even when games used it, that felt like a gimmick. There was really no real practical use for it. It didn't immerse you in games more. But from what I've been watching over and over again with the haptics, the list of games that I've seen listed saying that the haptics are going to be utilized, that's something that is about the experience of actually playing the game. And if you think about it, Sony has innovated on this almost every controller. They were the first ones to do dual analog. They were the second one to do Rumble, but it was actually built into the controller as opposed to the Nintendo, the 64, where you had to put a pack in. They brought now I think the DualShock 4 is probably where their innovations showed the least amount of grip on development outside of it, other than you can use it for the VR tracking. Like the VR tracking is supposedly really good with the controller. I don't care about VR, but everything that said haptics, this is going to be the thing that stays with it. Like the 3D Rumble in Nintendo, that Nintendo doesn't really get that much third-party support. Like they didn't just start getting it until they got it, and when they started getting it, it was like, all right, well, we're not going to develop this thing for this one console if it's different than the other ones. Whereas it's haptics is close enough to Rumble that I think that they're going to utilize it the entire gen. And I really believe, mark my words, I really think Microsoft is going to come out with an updated controller with haptics.
Yeah,
well, Xbox One controllers already have the trigger pull control. No one uses it.
They're completely different. You got to watch the video.
I know that there's more to haptics than the trigger pull, but I would be surprised if it's that widely implemented.
And why?
I think it does come down. I think it does come down. What Sean said is it will come down to just, you get those third parties as the lead console, and you get them kind of into it and saying, hey, like, and I think my main thing is as long as it gives people the option to turn it off, which I 100% believe they will. Because obviously, if you're playing,
that's the other thing.
Yeah, a lot of your Call of Duty pros, or for a lot of shooters, people like to turn off the Rumble because it gets a little irritating for them. I'm not that.
Oh, we lost our host.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, we didn't lose our host. You froze up, Kyle.
Okay, sorry, you lost me there for a second. Anyway, what I was saying is, as long as you can turn it off, that's my main thing. A lot of Call of Duty pros and people that are into shooters like to turn off the Rumble because it can be distracting. But other than that, yeah, I'm happy. I like to see the innovation. I'm definitely excited to get my hands on it and try it out. Now, kind of moving.
When you were saying, just real quick, with just to rebut what Tim said about the controllers in Xbox, no one used it because, again, not the lead platform.
Yes.
You have to realize and accept the fact that Xbox got its ass kicked this generation. But
that's
totally
lot.
Fair. And so why put all that extra time into something when you're going to sell at least at least 1.5 times more on PlayStation,
and not have to do anything,
and just do the same amount of work that you're putting into both, and not have to do anything
it's a fair
extra.
point. Being the lead platform is huge, especially when it comes to getting people to adopt things, especially game developers. Now, moving on to our final topic, backwards compatibility has been a huge not huge, but definitely a big talking point for both of these consoles. PlayStation's been a little mum about a lot of things in terms of what's working, what's not working. They said they will have most of their games working by launch, but we've yet to see that. Now, Microsoft has come out today and kind of just dropped the hammer on it all to kind of shut down any speculation. And then they said, anything that's backwards compatible on the Xbox One at all is backwards compatible and will probably play even better than the backwards compatible version, which a lot of them have updates already for the Xbox One X, will play even better on the Series S and X. And that excites me. I really, honestly, as someone getting an Xbox, the thing I'm honestly most excited for, and it might be, people might think it's a little sad because you're supposed to be getting excited for new games. But I'm really excited, especially because we didn't really see this jump, in my opinion, last console generation with frame rates and with load times too much. But I'm very excited to just kind of pop in. I like to play a lot of Gears. I would like to play COD. I'm a shooter guy. Especially for shooters, sir. I'm very excited to play on that higher frame rate and just see load times. And I'm excited to pop in Grand Theft Auto and, checking your phone and going to get a drink of water and going to take a piss a thing of the past now because things are going to load so quick. And I'm genuinely excited to see that happen. Tim, what kind of excites you for the backwards compatibility aspect of it? Is it kind of whatever, I'm not going to play old games?
Oh, no, I play more old games than I play current gen games. Dude, that's a big deal for me. I'm real excited about that. They still haven't brought Resonance of Fate to the backwards compatible program, which is a big bummer. But other than that, no, I that's a huge deal. I was, it's to the point like I was almost. It struck me that they hadn't already announced that when I saw it. I was like, wait, didn't someone already say that they were doing this?
I think honestly what it had to do a lot of is, legal stuff, in my opinion, because they couldn't. I'm sure they had to go back to everybody and say, hey, I'm sure it wasn't that big of a talk as it was to do the backwards compatible program on the Xbox One, but I'm sure you had to go back to a lot of developers and a lot of publishers and say, hey, legal stuff about getting these games to be backwards compatible, because that's what it usually is. Sean, kind of mentioning about, the PlayStation 5, you're not going to be playing a lot of the older games because you own a lot of them. Now, the fact that you own games on the Xbox and the ones that you can actually play, are you going to want to go back and see a game that you might have thought, oh man, I remember waiting, hours, or not hours, but what felt like hours for a game to load, to kind of see the jump on these consoles?
So backwards compatibility is a bonus. It's not something that I think I need a console to have. I came up with the Atari, the NES, the SNES. There was no backwards compatibility. It was just not something you did. You know what I mean? It's just not something that you cared about. But I'm not against backwards compatibility. Like I said, my number one priority, I don't care if no other game on PlayStation 4 plays on PlayStation 5 as long as Bloodborne does, because I will play Bloodborne again. So, but what I'll probably kick it around just to be like, get that little thrill, and be like, ooh, the load's way faster. You know what I mean? Just because my dumb caveman brain will be like, ooh, that's faster. You know what I mean? Like, that'll be cool to see. But I'm genuinely excited. Like, my plan for PlayStation 5 is I'm gonna play Astrobot Mission while I'm waiting for Demon Souls to download.
And then a lot of people are going to do that.
And then after that, I'm probably going to get my upgrade for Watch Dogs to see how that runs, because I'm going to play it tomorrow and I want to see how it looks with the ray tracing and everything. And I have Spider-Man and Call of Duty, like a lot of stuff now, like new games coming out. But when a lull happens, like maybe like late December, like when I'm done with Cyberpunk, or like maybe early January. No, because fucking Hitman comes out in January.
It does.
We're buried.
Yeah, it does.
Whenever there's a lull, I will go back and play old games, just because I don't have anything against playing old games, and it's super convenient that I can bring, those that, like I said, I have 13 actually. I recounted 13 of those games from PlayStation Plus I already have. So it'd be cool to be like, all right, now I have the digital version of it. I don't need the disc anymore. I have the disc. I'm going to keep the disc, but I don't have to reinstall it, and I'll do that. But I personally don't think anyone should think backwards compatibility should be a focus of a next gen console. But that's just because I'm old, and that's never been something I needed to worry about.
No, that's 100% fair. I understand, especially with the Xbox launch. You look at it and you're like, where are these new games? But yeah, they have done a good job, especially with Game Pass being the kind of crutch for them, just to kind of say, hey, look at all these improvements. And Xbox, with the fact that they don't have a lot of amazing launch games, they need to really champion the fact that, hey, we are literally going back and making these games almost feel brand new again. We saw, Gears of War 5 came out. They're coming out with this huge update, 120 hertz. But they also went back and they said, we're doing campaign DLC that's coming out in December. And, a lot of fans have been clamoring for this Gears of War movie that's it's in hell. I honestly believe that, and whatever Halo's doing is never coming. I swear there's a curse on Xbox games never being made into property. But, again, my opinion here, but we're going to get early to say, but I still 100% believe that Tom Holland is a terrible choice for Nathan Drake, and I think this movie is terrible.
That's so stupid.
But yeah, just my opinion on it. Anyway.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I do like the fact that, we're seeing Batista coming in. They've got him to come in. They've got his face on Marcus Phoenix's body, and it looks really good. Because he's the champion. What?
He did voiceover too. He
did the voiceover. The entire game, you can literally be played as Batista. And I think it's
I'm going to do
nice
that
kind of touch that they're bringing.
I'm going to do that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, they're bringing a nice thing for sure. Hey, now,
Remember
Avery, I'm
when
going to ask
Peter-
everybody this question, but I want to start with you, just kind of to end our backwards compatibility talk here. What game are you excited to pop into your PS5 or Xbox Series X and just see how much faster the load time? Like, what game has always bugged you that's like, wow, this load time is way too long, and then you just want to see it be blown away on the next gen consoles?
Fucking Bloodborne.
Maybe I want to see Ghost of Tsushima go from like 7 seconds to like 2 seconds. Those were a little bit too long.
I made a joke that you're gonna load in before your character dies because it's so fast.
But no, I don't really know. There's no game that stands out to me right now, recently at least, that had super long load times. And same thing I was mentioning earlier about the PS Plus is that, you know, with some of the older games that I may have already missed out, I kind of just chalk it up as, damn, that sucks. And, you know, I guess I'll see it in a different life. But I might try and go through maybe Final Fantasy VII, you know, remake again. I tried doing the platinum on that, but didn't realize how much I need the benches to refill your magic points, because on platinum on hard difficulty, it is hard. It's a lot harder. So I might try and do that again, see how it looks on PS5, but I'm going to just stick to any new stuff when it comes out.
Yeah, no, that's fair. How about you, Tim? Really quick, what's your kind of game you're looking forward to decrease load times?
Midnight Club Los Angeles had some ridiculous load times.
I remember that game. I remember that game on 360.
I love that game so much. I love it so much.
It did have really long load times, though.
It did. I remember Midnight Club. The worst load times I've ever seen were Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition Remix on the PlayStation Portable. I would turn it on and go do other things while it loaded. It was literally like a 10 to 15 minute long load time. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the 360 games as a whole is pretty cool. Midnight Club Los Angeles for real. I think that'll be helpful. I don't know. I've never been bothered by load times.
I think we've been kind of accustomed to load times. I think it's a thing that everyone just you're used to dealing with. Like I said, going up and checking your phone and loading up Grand Theft Auto Online, which I think a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of multiplayer games that people are going to be like, what the hell, this isn't faster, and that's not loading the game, that's just connecting to the online servers. I think you're going to see a lot of that, especially with games like GTA and Red Dead.
Yeah, I bet you're right. Yeah,
but you're going to see a lot of people bitch and complain about the fact that it's taking forever to load still, but that's connecting online. Now, Sean, how about you? Is there a specific game that you want to see a load time for?
All of the From Software games and Bloodborne.
Yes.
You die a lot in that game. Like when you're just starting out, and even on the low, like higher levels, or you're just like, now I can play Bloodborne and it's kind of a joke, but there's a lot of traveling back and forth in Bloodborne, and that's where you get a lot of load time. So I'm looking forward to that. Just this becoming smaller. Whatever From does next, if Elden Ring even exists, I'm gonna love that. To imagine it's gonna make fighting bosses so much less frustrating, because one of the problems with when you first start playing these games, you die and you have to fucking sit through this goddamn load screen. You're just like, motherfucker, and then go back to play the thing. Where this, if it's that quick, if they can get it under like 10 seconds, 5 seconds, it's like, all right, no big deal. That run was a wipe. Here I go again. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's gonna make it a lot less frustrating.
The other thing that I actually thought of is how many times, and specifically might have been when you were younger, how many times did you figure out a tip or trick because that's what they have on the loading screens, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. They have the things going by
all the time.
Yeah, those are going to be gone. Like those aren't going to exist anymore.
No.
The only reason why they exist is because you had to sit and watch the load screen.
Yeah, exactly. So people more Googling for tips for sure. I believe that with the decreased load times, I think that's going to definitely come along.
It's weird because there is a thing about load times that I kind of have always liked, and there's that. And actually, now thinking about Midnight Club Los Angeles reminds me of one. Is that stutter that always, like, certain load times where you're going from one, like maybe entering a different room or something, and there's that half stutter where the game catches itself as it's loading and then keeps going.
Yep. Happens a lot on GTA.
Yeah,
I know what
GTA,
happens
like
on
where
Destiny too.
the music, like where there's a music cue or a sound cue that catches and like holds for a second, and like it holds the same sound, or maybe it skips a beat or something. And there's something about that I've always liked. That just because you, especially in Midnight Club, like going into the garage, there's that music cue where it goes do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. You're on the beat.
You should go into sound effects too, by the way.
Does anybody play like Bethesda games like the Skyrim, Fallout?
You know what? I'm gonna go and.
I was gonna say
check out
Bethesda
Skyrim.
games actually probably would help from this.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because there's load times when you go inside of a building.
And you know what?
Yeah.
That even that idea there that you just brought up, I'm curious about how mods specifically in those Bethesda games are going to load a lot faster, especially on the consoles, right? And what kind of mods you're going to be able to support on any game, really.
Yeah. And how are people going to have to start organize, like are people creating mods going to have to start taking load times into consideration?
Yeah.
Because if it takes forever to load your mod when people are no longer used to load screens, then people aren't going to play it, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. But anyways, I think that's going to be the.
Well, did we get Avery's opinion on that? On all that, which games?
Yeah, I talked to him first.
Okay.
Tsushima, I want it instant.
Oh, that's right. We talked about it. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
All right. Well, I think that's going to come to an end for episode number 6. We'll start, Avery. What do you got going on right now? Anything you want to plug?
Nope, just, hanging out, not doing a whole lot. So find me on Twitter at coffeeblock_910, and I'm sure I'll be here hopefully next week.
Perfect. Tim?
Yeah, I finished Cloudpunk. Gonna be working on the review for that. That game is good. It feels like it either should have been a motion graphic comic or a Crazy Taxi type run, and like speed run in a hover car game. But they tried to split the difference. So I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say it's the best game I've ever played, but I'm working on the review for that.
Perfect.
I'm probably going to see if I can get my hands on Watch Dogs, so that Sean and I can talk through that. And I know he's writing the review for that, I believe. And then I'm also hoping to do a review for Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to reading everything. And you definitely have Twitter now, right?
Nope. I got the tweets of the little birdies out my window. That's all I need.
And just like Tim mentioned there, Sean, you are working on the Watch Dogs review, correct?
Yeah, but I didn't get a review copy, so I'm playing it like the rest of the plebes. I'm going to be playing it like I'm buying it. It's getting delivered tomorrow, so I'm going to be playing through that starting tomorrow and through the weekend. I finished my G.I. Joe review. It's supposed to go up. I don't know why it's not up, but you don't need to read it. I gave it a 5 out of 10. It's not a good game. And yeah, so I will never think about that game again.
Perfect. All right, and for myself, I'm just counting down the days for the next gen consoles. I'm hopefully gonna, at least put some opinions out there for the Series X, which is coming on the 10th. And you can follow me on Twitter at Hoopstar245. Well, for Sean, Tim, and Avery, this has been the Lock On Podcast, episode number 6. See you later.